A warm welcome and a kind thank you to Mr. Todd Beuckens for taking the time to talk to us today. And so I will throw control of the screen and everything to him and let him take it away.
Great. Thank you, Joseph. Thanks so much. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming and making time to do this, to do a real in-person event. I will go ahead and start here in just a minute. I think, Joseph, you have to stop your screen.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, great. So today's presentation is just using AI and ChatGPT for everyday classroom use. My name's Todd Beuckens. I've been a teacher for over 25 years, and I create a lot of websites. I'm an ed tech enthusiast. I have a master's degree in learning design and technology. And so I'm always an early adopter. I like to get in and use tools and see how they work. And I'm here to calm the worried people that the sky is not falling. We go through the same pattern every time we have a new technology, be it books. We won't need teachers with books. And then the internet, we're not going to need teachers. And then Zoom, oh no, we're not going to need teachers. And now we have ChatGPT. And so we'll talk a little bit about the limitations and also how teachers can use it to actually improve their learning environments and make their job a lot easier. So first, one of the things that we have to go over is a misconception about AI. So there are two types of thinking, really. There's inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. And for a computer, for AI, as smart as it seems, it is inductive reasoning. And that is, it needs a lot of data points for it to make a decision. It cannot deduce things. It cannot see something and make its own decision, right? So for example, let's say you want to learn how you want to use AI for like Google Maps to go somewhere. Well, the computer will have all these data points and will have the best route, the fastest route on how to get there. But what the computer won't know is that, let's say it's a rainy day and it's 3 o'clock, and that means all the parents are going to be going to the school to pick up their kid because they don't want their kid to walk home in the rain. So you don't want to drive by the school because the traffic is going to be terrible. Computer doesn't know that. The computer can't look at the sky and figure that out. And so you're going to see a common theme when we go through prompts that we've put into ChatGPT, where the computer is really good. The AI, the technology is really good at getting you in the ballpark, but almost always what you put into ChatGPT needs human intervention, and it needs a human to edit or to basically massage the content. So with that in mind, let's kind of look at the role of the teacher over time. We've gone from consumer to creator to curator. And it's an exciting time because now we are the gatekeepers. So pre the digital era, we were consumers, right? Teachers would buy things that the publishers would produce because only the publishers had the means to actually create stuff. It was a very hard, arduous process. It cost a lot of money. And so we would buy content that the publishers would provide. Then with the digital era, we became creators. And that's what I talked about before with eFuture. And we have all these tools, and teachers can create their own content. They could create, PowerPoint slides or books or audio files or whatever. Now we've actually gone to another place where we're a curator. Now, a curator, if you don't know what that means, a curator is the person at a museum or an art gallery. They choose what art goes up on the wall, right? So that's what's going to happen with ChatGPT, with AI, is we will now choose what we present. So we are still at the top of the chain, but we don't have to create stuff so much anymore. We don't have to buy stuff so much anymore. Teachers now can just go ahead and use ChatGPT to make a variety of activities or educational materials. So thinking of that, let's go ahead and look at the 8 different ways that we'll look at using ChatGPT. So we'll do brainstorming, activities, content creation, lesson plans, rewriting content, which I think is the most powerful, which you'll see, image creation, professional development, and then we'll finish it off with personal life. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and start the first one, brainstorming. So let's see if I can get the chat window to show up here. So how many people use ChatGPT? So in the chat window, put a Y if you're using ChatGPT and put a no if you're not, or in if you're not. Yes? Oh yeah, I think a lot of people, yeah. So I think, yeah, that's what I was expecting, that a lot of people maybe already used it. If you haven't used it, the easiest way to get started in a very friendly way is to do word lists. A brainstorming, I'm sorry. So for example, you can do word lists, discussion questions, and syllabus learner objectives. So you would put in a simple prompt. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on this, and it's gonna open this up here. And you could put in a prompt like this. So, and notice I even have my grammar wrong. I actually left it like this. This was the actual prompt I put in the ChatGPT. And I said, what is a list of conjunctive adverbs? And it actually spit this out. So it actually explained it for me. Conjunctive adverbs are used to join two independent clauses. And then it gave me this nice list. And then at the bottom, it says, hey, by the way, this is not an exhaustive list. So that is just one way that you can do it. Now we'll go ahead and log in and you'll see how this works. So let's go to ChatGPT. We'll log in. So if you haven't used it yet, this is kind of what you will see. And you can see these are all the prompts I have over here that I've used. And so I am going to redo that. Oh, it went away. Here we go. I'm going to redo that prompt again. And let's type this in. So just when you want to get a list, you just go ahead, take that, and you would go to the ChatGPT here, just to show you the mechanics of how it works. Now you have new chat, which you can click if you've already have a thread. But if you're doing the first one, you can just put here, send a message, and click the little green square. And then notice, voila, it go ahead and gives me this. Now, one thing that's interesting about ChatGPT is it's not going to be the same thing. It actually is going to change every time slightly when you put in a prompt. But notice it just took a second to do that. Just a second. So that's one of the things that's really powerful about this is it's going to save teachers time. Now, there are many different types of teachers that have different situations. I kind of joke that there is the inspired teacher. There is the stressed teacher, overworked teacher, I should say. There might be the unmotivated teacher. They really want to do something else with their career. You could have the inexperienced teacher. In all of these instances, you can use ChatGPT to help save you time. So you could either spend more time preparing lessons, or you can focus on other things, or you can minimize the time it's going to need to prepare a lesson. So the main benefit of ChatGPT is that it can just save teachers a lot of time. All right, so then another one, an easy one is discussion questions. So I often put this one into ChatGPT. I might ask something like this, what are 100 good discussion questions for ESL students? And then it'll give me a list. Now I've only put 10 here, but it's so easy, right? If you just go ahead, put in a prompt. Now, one thing is often, whatever it gives me, I always have to remove. I'm always removing. It kind of gives you too much. So that's where the editing comes in. You'll look at the questions and then you'll think, okay, you know what? I need to adapt this. The level's too high, or it's not really on topic or whatever. So one thing we can't do with ChatGPT is we're going to see a common theme is you can't just use it and not check it. That is a disaster. An absolute disaster. You have to check what it produces because it is never 100% reliable. All right, so those were two easy ones. Here's one, though, you might be surprised. You can actually use ChatGPT for creating a syllabus or learner objectives. So here is the prompt that I put into ChatGPT. And actually, I'll read you this prompt in a second. And I said, create a grammar syllabus for intermediate English ESL students, suffer B1, B2. And this is what it gave me. And it's pretty good. Like it, in terms of brainstorming, of giving me an idea of what I would need to teach, it really gave a comprehensive list. And then from this, I can think, okay, I should teach this. This is a good thing. This is something I could use. I don't need to teach this. So going back to the curator mode, the app is just fantastic for basically brainstorming and giving you a lot of ideas of what you can do. Now we'll go ahead and do this one again. Let's see what it comes up with. So here it was last time, right? So it has these tenses. So let's go back and try it again. So let's go new chat, and we'll pop this in here and see what it comes up with. It looks like it's pretty similar. Yeah. So one thing about this is you have to realize a lot of times what it's going to produce is going to be very similar, because that's how AI works. It's scraping the internet, looking for all this information, and then collating it. And then if the AI knows that it's used this before, it often will regenerate something very similar. So usually when you put a prompt in again and again and again, you're going to get almost the same thing. And I'm sorry if my computer is, the fan is kind of working hard right now. I'm sorry about that. If it's too loud. Okay, so that's brainstorming. So next, let's look at activities. So we have quizzes, gap fill, and task sequence, which I think is the best. So first, quizzes. Word of warning. ChatGPT is not the best at quizzes, at comprehension quizzes for reading and listening, but it's really good at doing simple like grammar lessons and quizzes like that. So here was my prompt: write a multiple choice quiz with 20 questions and 3 distractors for each question about the passive tense in English. Each question will have a blank, and students must choose the correct word to complete the sentence. So here, as you can see, the prompt has to be fairly clear, right? If you just say, write me a quiz, the computer's going to have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't get the meme. I didn't get the picture for it, but one of my favorite memes is there's a kid and the mom is in the kitchen and there's trash all over the floor. And the mom goes, "What have you done?" And then the little boy goes, "What? You told me to take out the trash." So ChatGPT is kind of the same way. Like, it has to have very clear prompts for it to do what you need it to do, right? Because it's going to hear take out the trash. It doesn't know exactly what take out the trash means, right? So you have to have very specific prompts. And also, one of the great things about ChatGPT is that you can just try again. So you could always just hit regenerate, which we'll see in a minute, and just do it again and again. So this is a typical grammar quiz. Oh, and by the way, in the PowerPoint slides, you'll have links to all of this. This is also another grammar quiz. I just redid it, and I guess that's it. Yeah. So I have very, very easy to make quizzes like this. Okay. So next, we have gap fill activities. So this is just one example of what you can do, but this is mainly to show you how to write a prompt. So from my interactions with people that are very savvy computer scientists and stuff like that, they say that actually when you write the prompt, it helps ChatGPT if you use these square brackets and you give bullet points of what you want it to do. And there's 3 things that you should tell ChatGPT when you write the prompt. One is, what is it that you're trying to get? So here would be a gap fill. Also, what is it not? And then finally, what is the purpose? What is the purpose actually really helps? So like, here, I probably should have said, create a gap fill activity with the following text for students, for beginner English students to learn English. That would have probably been a better prompt. But this is what I put in. So this was the prompt I put in, and we'll put this prompt in again in a minute. And this is what it did. It came up with this. And it gave me the answer key because I asked for it to write the answer key. Here it is. I said, choose only words that are nouns for the gaps. It kind of did. I think it got flailing is not a noun, but it pretty much was able to do that. So it can be very, very specific. Now, here's the cute thing about ChatGPT. It's a bad computer. It doesn't listen. So I said, create 10 gaps. It never gives me the number I want. It often will give me 9 and will give me 12. So it kind of disobeys a bit sometimes. It's kind of funny how it does that. So it's in the future, they'll probably iron that out, but it's kind of funny how that works. So here I did it again, and I tried to give it more commands. And I said, okay, so this one, can you put the answer, can you put the words horizontally at the top of the page? Can you write instructions for the students? So I actually did more for the prompt, and it actually did it. Here it is. So it actually wrote the instructions, and then it actually put the words here at the top. One thing it's really good at is writing instructions. Absolutely fantastic. It's almost always perfect with the instructions on what to do. And one thing that is really good about using an app like ChatGPT is you never have to worry about punctuation mistakes. You never have to worry about spelling mistakes, which I suffer from myself doing all the time. And it's also uniform in its style. It's, it's pretty much how the publishers would do it. So that's really, really good. And then here is the activity that it did. And then it gave me the answer key. So again, pretty impressive. Now let's go ahead and run this one again. So here it is. So we're going to go ahead and take that, and we'll go back to ChatGPT and see how it does when we ask to do it one more time. I'll put this prompt in there. And excuse me, I have to get rid of that. And let's go ahead and run it. And there it is. Actually, ta-da! It changed the words. And this one, it kind of didn't really know. It's like the little bit of the take out the trash thing. It didn't know what it wanted me to do, but it's in the ballpark. So what I would have to do now is go through, change this. Obviously, teachers wouldn't give out the answer key. Maybe make sure that these don't go in the same order. That's often a problem. I would have to edit it, but again, very, very easy to do the activity. So one of the things about this is once you have a good prompt, then you can just reuse the activity, use that prompt again and again and again. So notice, once I have this prompt saved, all I have to do is just always paste in a text, and I could do it again and again and again and again. So that will save you a lot of time. Okay, next, this one. This is what I think is actually maybe the coolest thing about ChatGPT, or the second coolest. The coolest is coming up. That's the task sequence. So you could actually keep giving a thread based on the same input, or I'm sorry, keep giving a prompt in the same thread, and it will keep adapting and working on the activity. So you could have it do a little bit and then add on to it, add on to it, add on to it, and you'll see what I mean. So here I have this prompt. In the following conversation, find all the idiomatic expressions. And so here it is. Hey, we missed you last week. Yeah, I was laid up for a few days. Really? Did you catch a bug? Yeah, I was sick as a dog. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, be careful. It's going around. Yeah, I try to stick to myself. Right. So this was a conversation that I gave to my students during the pandemic. And I said, hey, find all the idiomatic expressions. Look what it did. Boom, 100%. It got them all. Missed you, laid up, catch a bug, sick as a dog, it's going around, stick to myself. And this is the cool thing about ChatGPT. It said, hey, you know what? You probably want the meaning too, right? I didn't ask for the meaning. Never asked for it. And it did it. So now it's the good robot. Not only did it take out the trash, put it out on the street, it picked up the trash along the way because it's like, you know what? He wants the trash out. That's some trash on the ground. I better take that out too. So sometimes from the prompt, the computer does more than you expect. Like you didn't even ask it to do that, but it's like, you know what? Based on what other people want on this activity, this is probably what you want. So that's kind of a really cool feature. So now I've done that. That's my first prompt. So then below I do prompt number 2. In the thread, I say, now write an example sentence using all the idiomatic expressions. Boom, it does it. 1, I missed you at the party last night. Where were you? Sarah couldn't come to work today because she's laid up with a back injury. Tom caught a bug and has been sneezing and coughing all day. After eating that street food, I felt sick as a dog. So notice it's perfect. The examples are perfect. That is actually one really good thing about ChatGPT is sometimes the usage is not perfect. Like the pragmatics is not perfect, but the actual grammar is usually perfect. Like the sample meaning, if it's small, is usually perfect. Okay, so then we'll go on to prompt number 3. So now I said, okay, now let's go back to my gap fill. Now write a gap fill activity with all the idiomatic expressions, list the idiomatic expressions at the top of the page, create an answer sheet at the bottom of the page. And it did, like similar to the last activity, it took out all the idiomatic expressions, it knew which ones, didn't get it wrong, and then it gave me just the answer sheet, which is just the conversation. So it's pretty cool. Now, it's time to evaluate. Now, I was using, again, my deductive reasoning. I'm not a computer. From my last one, for the last time I did something with eFuture, I knew that the main languages were Spanish and Vietnamese and Japanese. And so I said, okay, let's have it translate. So number 4, I said, translate the idiomatic expressions into Spanish, French, Japanese, and Vietnamese. So in the chat window, you guys tell me how good is the translation. I've had other people check it and say it was really good, but who knows, maybe it's going to prove me wrong. But it then quickly gave you the translation. So now this helps a lot, right? So even though I speak some Thai, I speak some Japanese, I don't know how to say catch a bug in the other language, the idiomatic, right? Or it's going around. And also, one thing I like to do is, the Japanese is pretty good. Oh, nice. Terrible Vietnamese. Okay. So there we go. Oh, no. Okay, that's really good. Spanish is a bit off. Okay. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. This is actually a really good point, though. I do this with my students. I will actually do a translation and I'll crowdsource it. And I'll say, okay, I do this with Grammarly as well, and or DeepL as well. I'll say, how good is it? And the students have to work together to see also if the translation is good, because I don't know. And I tell them I cannot rely on it. I use ChatGPT or I use DeepL. And it's really interesting for the students, then they have that deep knowledge. And one thing I really love about crowdsourcing the veracity of the content is the students almost always get it right, and that's how you can use these apps. And again, definitely you cannot rely on them. We're going to show you later on. Sometimes I put in prompts into ChatGPT and it's completely wrong. Like it actually is the opposite. Sometimes it's actually, I think the way that it gets the information, it actually gives the opposite meaning or the opposite use. So it's literally as wrong as it could be sometimes. And you'll see an example. It says, I'm just going to check this question. It says, when you ask ChatGPT to create something, will it tell you where? No, it doesn't. No, it cannot. It just scrapes everywhere, and so you don't know. There is no way to cite the source. Yeah. By the way, there's the Korean and the Chinese. So I think similar to DeepL, you have to be careful like how you use it. But I will say this, it is almost perfect with the English explanations of the idiomatic expressions. So a lot of that is because as the AI is growing, it's using, like, for example, a dictionary is where it's getting those translations from is probably a more reliable source. So over time, these will get better. You know, DeepL keeps getting better. Grammarly keeps getting better. So you will see improvement, I would imagine, in 5 years or so. All right. Half is right in Korean. Okay, yeah, thanks. That's about, I'd say it was about normal. Okay, so next one is content creation. So one of the things you can do is, if you're a really busy teacher, is you could have it just write like a dialogue. So here is a prompt that I gave it. And sometimes it's really good. This one, it kind of nailed. So this is a good example. I said, write a short conversation about shopping using all of the following words: each, all, each, both, and either. So I was doing conjunctive adverbs and distributive adverbs, and it gave me this conversation, right? So this is a customer. Hi, I'm looking for a new outfit for a party this weekend. Can you help me find something? Of course, we have a great selection of dresses and suits. Have you checked out our latest collection? No, not yet. No, not yet. I'm sorry, not yet. I want something that's stylish and comfortable, but also affordable. And then we have a few options that could work for you, and then yada, yada, yada. And it's pretty good. It's not that bad. Here is one, though, where it's kind of not so good. So this one, I said, make a 10-line conversation using the words each and every, talking about fruit in a market. The conversation is a little incoherent at some parts. Well, like down here where they're talking about, if you buy every pound of apples in this bag, you'll get 10% off. So that is off, right? So the conversation's not quite right. So this is a big concern that we have to use. And last night I was talking with these experts about AI, and I said, look, I use this a lot, okay? And my biggest concern is this going to be the blind leading the blind, as we say in English? Because if the computer is getting bad information in bad instances, and everybody keeps getting a bad output that they think is a good output, but it's actually bad, is it going to reinforce? So we're going to keep making the same mistake. We kind of get this really bad content loop that we can't get out of. And they said, no, eventually it should regress to the mean, but it is a big problem, right? That people will get a certain conception or idea in their head, and the computer then thinks that's true when actually it's not true. And so you will see that sometimes it's just completely off. So that's why, you know, teachers are definitely needed. There's no way that we can rely just on computers, and especially students. So students, if they use ChatGPT, I'm actually all for it, because the student is going to learn because they're going to have to edit the content. If they just give me something with no thought, you're going to get something like this. And we've already seen it with Grammarly, right? Or, you know, simple translations. So again, it'll help you get things in the right direction, but then sometimes it's going to be off. Okay, here's an example of where it really got it wrong. So I said, write 4 conversations, each with 6 to 10 lines between a man and a woman using direct and indirect objects. Okay, here it says, I bought you a gift, and it's telling me, hey, that's a direct object. No, it's not. That's an indirect object. And then here it says, I thought you might enjoy this. And then it's the opposite again, right? So this is just wrong. So you have to be really, really careful. And again, it goes back to the take out the trash joke. Sometimes it just gets it wrong. And so you have to regenerate, reword your prompt, edit what you give, but you definitely cannot rely on it just to spit you out something and use it without checking it. All right, so then this is a really cool one. So stories and articles. So especially for, I would say, graded readers, I think this is going to be a big help for extensive reading. You could ask it just to write a story, and here it's completely just being creative, similar to the dialogues, and it will give you a pretty good prompt, or pretty good output, I'm sorry. So here, write a 100-word story about a boy who goes to the market and meets a girl. Write it for SEFR A1 level English students. And the story's pretty good. Once upon a time, kind of silly, but once upon a time, there was a boy named Tim. One sunny day, he went to the market to buy some fruits. At the market, he saw a girl named Sarah. She had a beautiful smile. Tim wanted to talk to her, but he was shy. He took a deep breath and said, "Hi, my name is Tim. What's your name?" Sarah replied, "Hi, Tim. I'm Sarah. Nice to meet you." Yeah, they started talking and found out they both loved animals. Tim asked, "Would you like to go to the park and see some ducks with me?" Sarah happily agreed, and they became good friends. Not bad. Not bad at all. So if you need to create just a basic text, a basic situation, you can use ChatGPT to do the heavy lifting, and sometimes you hardly have to change anything. What's impressive is it actually wrote it pretty close to A1. I would not say that's A1 level. I would say that's more maybe A2, borderline B1, but it's in the ballpark. It's not that far off from a beginner level reading activity. So that's pretty good. Now, I guess we're going to do that for the rewrites. Sorry. Okay, another one is explanations. So you could have it do something where you want to provide prompts for students. You want to provide prompts to create materials for students to learn something, to give examples. Sometimes you can just put in a simple prompt like, make a grammar explanation for indirect questions. And this is the prompt. It gives me a point, explains it, and then it gives me all of these good examples. And again, for me to generate this on my own from the beginning would take a lot of time. But again, it just saves you a lot of time by getting the ball rolling, so to speak, and then you can go through and edit, and you don't have to worry about punctuation. It has a uniform formatting, etc. So that's just another thing you could use it for. It's actually really good at explaining grammar, usually. It's not always good at giving examples of grammar, but it's usually pretty good at explaining grammar, just because there's so much on the internet that it will explain certain tenses and things like that. Okay, now next one, lesson plans. Okay, so if you're using ChatGPT, one of the things is, again, it has uniform formatting. So if you work for a school and they want you to submit lesson plans, or maybe you are applying for a job and you have to submit a sample lesson plan and you're applying for different jobs, you can put in a prompt to write a lesson plan. So like here I said, write a 60-minute lesson plan for the following text. And then I gave it these prompts. Then here was the text. And then here is the lesson plan. And it's pretty thorough. And so that's one thing that's quite nice about it, is it will quickly populate a text, and then you can, from that, use it basically as a template. Then you could, remove things, add things, so to speak, and then you're set. So if you need also like an idea, like how to write a lesson plan or a business plan or anything, the ChatGPT is really good with giving you the basics of what it's supposed to look like. I'm applying for a job in Thailand right now, and I had to go to the embassy and get an affidavit notarized. And I didn't even know what an affidavit was. I'd heard of it, but I didn't know what an affidavit looks like. So I just asked ChatGPT to write this affidavit for me, this legal document, and boom, it gave it to me. I took it to the embassy, and the guy at the embassy, he looked at it and he said, "Oh, okay, of the 6 clauses, 5 are good. 1 I can't agree on. But besides that, boom, you're ready to go." And so I didn't have to see a lawyer. I was able to use the app just to get the formatting. I just didn't know how to write what I needed to write. So ChatGPT is really good in that instance. And also, like I said, it's just you can have uniformity, no punctuation mistakes, things like that. Okay, this is one of the most powerful things it can do. So that's discourse analysis. So if you are given a text, you can ask it to find the most difficult items. So if I were to, here's a story where a girl talks about her dog and she took it to the Humane Society. This is on my website, LO, by the way. And in it, she uses some difficult words. Now, I could scan this and try to find the difficult words, or I could say, hey, give me a head start, ChatGPT. For the following text, identify the 7 difficult vocabulary items. And then I give it some prompts, choose the most difficult or useful phrases, write a short definition, each being less than 10 words, write at a level of SEPR B1 student or intermediate level student, list the vocabulary items in alphabetical order. So I give it those prompts, and it pretty much did it perfectly. So it said, okay, how about adorable, arthritis, depressed, Humane Society, surgery, shelter, super. I was like, I actually would not use super, but again, it's really close. It kind of did something different with its SEPR definition. Like, it didn't quite understand what I meant. But for the most part, the definitions were pretty good. So like I said, the English definitions are almost always spot on. It could even do things like, I once gave it a prompt and I said, identify the idiomatic expressions in this text. And in the text, somebody said, I'm not really good at learning languages, unlike my sister. She's a polyglot. It's so easy for her to pick them up. And so the idiomatic expression was pick them up. And ChatGPT said, pick them up means learn quickly. It knew that pickup meant to learn something quickly based on the other text. So it is really good in that instance about finding difficult words and then giving an explanation and the definition that is in the context of how it was used. So highly recommend you use it for that. All right. So then also just record keeping, ChatGPT has all of your prompts. And so you can just save them if you want, and then just put them somewhere else. Okay. So now this is the number one thing, how it can help teachers, hands down, the number one way it can help teachers, and that's rewriting content. So for example, one is you could have variance by levels. So one of the big problems we have in education is leveling. And you could even argue it is the number one problem that we have in education is leveling. We often have to serve content, which is one level fits all. But any teacher will tell you that's absolutely ridiculous, right? Like the famous, the joke line, oh, all my students are the same level and have the same ability, said no teacher ever. Doesn't happen ever. So you could actually take some content and say like, hey, can you make it easier or can you make it harder? And it's done like that. And so it could be the same content, but you can have different levels. So you could have scaffolded content. So let's go ahead and look at this first one, variance by levels. So this is an article I took from the Wall Street Journal. And it's an authentic article. And I said, rewrite the following article in easier language for students, beginners at the SEPR A1 level. By the way, what's also, you'll notice that my prompts sometimes are not grammatically correct. ChatGPT doesn't matter. It still knows what you want it to do. And so I have these words like hottest tie-ups, conflict, behind the scenes, familiar with the matter, forerunner, setup, scrutiny, and it didn't use any of those words. So in the second one, it is much, much simpler. And so you can take anything, a newspaper article or some text from content from a book or whatever, and just say, can you make it easier? And it will rewrite it in just a second. And then from there, you can go ahead and use that for your students. I've never actually asked it to make it harder, but I'm sure you could. You could say, write it at a higher level, but I always do it just writing down. So, okay, so the next one is alternative versions. Now, this is great. So, remember the story about the boy? Remember that? You're going to go look at some ducks. So I said, hey, can you rewrite the story with a sad ending? And it did, right? Now, one of the problems is that you use more difficult words, but now I just lost my pet dog. She's sad. She left on a sorrowful note. So I would probably have to rewrite that again simpler. So then I did. I said, hey, you know what? That was too hard, ChatGPT. And so it did it again. And then here we have the second version. Once there was a boy named Tim. One day he went to the market to buy fruits. At the market, he saw a girl named Sarah. She looked sad. Tim wanted to help her, but he didn't know what to do. He went closer and asked, are you okay? Sarah shook her head and said, no, I lost my pet dog. Tim felt sad too because he loved animals. He tried to make Sarah feel better, but in the end, she left the market still feeling very sad. So now we have variations. Now, here is one of the most practical ways you can use this. This is the cheating killer, because if you give the students a test, you could have multiple variations of a similar thing. No student or certain groups of students cannot get the similar content. Or you can get where students read a story and then they have to work in pairs and they have to be like, okay, what's different between your story and my story, right? So there's so many things that you can do just by putting in a prompt and say, okay, now make the story have a happy ending. Now make the story include a cat. Now make the story include Sarah's brother. So you can go on and on and on. You just keep feeding the prompt and it will redo it. And actually the app is really good at this, at doing variations. And then lastly, this is it. This is the number one thing. This is what nobody's probably thought about, but I think is the number one thing. I'm really big on extemporaneous speech, and I've been saying this for years, that we rely too much on scripted language. If you know my website, Ello, it's all extemporaneous speech. What I'm doing now is extemporaneous. That means I'm speaking naturally without really planning or prompting what I'm going to say. I'm just speaking naturally, authentic language. So what you can do with ChatGPT is you can record something like this right here, take the transcript, and then say, hey, ChatGPT, can you clean it up so it's like a blog post or like an article? Can you rewrite it so it's really nice? And it will do it. And you're going to see how amazing it does in just a second. So here I said, rewrite the following video transcript about noun clauses into an easy email. I see that's even a terrible prompt. Into an easy article. I'm going to actually change that. We'll do it again. An easy article or blog post that has headings and bullet points. And here's the transcript. And then this is what it gave me. So we're going to do it again. You're going to see how it can do this. I'm going to go ahead and take this whole prompt here. It's a lot of text. I'm going to say, hey, can you rewrite this transcript? It's kind of messy, right? I want to make it so students can read it. So I'm going to say, okay, ChatGPT, take this transcript and please rewrite it. And I hit enter. And then voila, boom, there it goes. So that means you can save time. You can just take out your phone, which also has transcription ability, talk to your phone, and then take that transcript, put it into ChatGPT and say, please, clean this up a bit. It's a bit messy. And it'll do it in 2 seconds. Now imagine if you tried to do that, how long it would take. A long time, hours and hours and hours. So again, you would have to go through and check it, but for the most part, yeah. How much can text text GPT deal with? That's a good question. I think large quantities, but yeah, I don't know. That is a really good question. One thing that it'll do is when it's doing, it'll stop and say, continue generating. It'll stop. It won't just go, 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 go. It'll make sure that you are actively monitoring what's going on. Okay, so I need 10 minutes for the Q&A, so I have to hurry up. Let's see, we've got, okay, image creation. This is kind of a fun one. So you can do the DALL-E. A DALL-E, is that what it's called? I'm sorry, but like you can create content thumbs, activity prompts, text scaffolding for articles. So you can just put in the prompt of what you want, and then it will go ahead and generate a picture. So let's go ahead and show you how this works. I need to get back to ChatGPT. So let's go to DALL-E, new chat, and should be, where's DALL-E? Log in again. Okay, so you want to go to this one right here, create an image. And so I'll go ahead and come up here. So let's do dog eating cake on a mountain. Okay, so then I'm going to say, can you please do a dog eating cake on a mountain? And if I click generate, it'll always show you something else that somebody made. I have the paid version, but the free version you can eat for a while. There it is, a dog eating cake on a mountain. So sometimes what I like to do is you can generate 2 pictures and then see if the students can find the difference. They'll be like, my picture has a dog. Well, my picture has a dog. My picture has cake. My picture has cake. My picture has a mountain. My picture has a mountain. What else? So then they have to try to find 3 differences of the same picture. Or maybe you wrote a story about, we have the boy and girl looking at ducks. So boy and girl looking at ducks. So that was my story. And that we had before. So it'll give me a thumb, and then I could use that thumb for, for generating interest, or even just being a thumbnail, maybe on a class website so the students can navigate to it. There it is. Look at that. So very, very easy. Now this is, you have to have the paid version, and you actually have to pay a little bit extra for DALL-E. But just so you can know, that's how it works. And from what I heard from the people last night at the presentation, Adobe is doing amazing things with their AI. Like Adobe will get you fantastic stuff. So I haven't checked it out yet, but that's kind of what the future is. All right. So then another thing is explanations. So in terms of, oh, I'm sorry, I'm moving on to professional development. Sorry. So one thing that I use sometimes as a teacher, my grammar is really good, but I might find a really sticky point or something I'm not really quite sure of. So I'll ask ChatGPT a question like, hey, are the past conditional and perfect conditional the same or different? Because I was noticing in the grammar books that they looked the same, but like which term? And then it went ahead and said, hey, you know what? Basically, they're interchangeable. And then it gives me this nice little example. Again, you would have to take everything with a grain of salt. It could be wrong. But in terms, if you are especially just starting out teaching, and you might have to do something that you're not familiar with, or teach something that you're not sure about, you could use ChatGPT as like a quick way to ramp up your learning. All right. And then just, personal life, you can use it for legal affairs. Like I said, like you can just, if you need documentation or something like that, it'll help you. Lifelong learning, it'll help people, and then also just shortcuts. And I have to go quickly. So if you want, while we do the Q&A, soft landing, I've got 2 minutes. So while we do the Q&A, you can, if you want to contact me, you can use that little, that QR code or the link, and you can contact me there. Sorry, my computer here is I'm trying to move my screen. There it is. Okay. I'll get this back up. So if you want to contact me, you can contact me here, fill out the form. If you want, please, if you give me your email, I will definitely write you back. Also, if you're interested in what I do, I am the creator of elo.org. 100%, well, not 100%, but human generated. So it's natural speech. We do audio recordings. I also have a website called Meals. I will be starting that more soon. Those are free teacher tutorials. And then I also create sound grammar, where we have basically, we teach grammar as well. And that's kind of linked with Elo. And that is it. So I have 10 minutes for questions if anybody has some, or comments if somebody wants to share their feelings about ChatGPT and using it in the future, or maybe their best practices, how they use it.
We get a couple of questions from the in the Q&A that have been coming through. A few of them I think you got to already, but do you have any suggestions for OpenAI services that are available in countries where ChatGPT might not be available, like Vietnam?
Oh, that's a really good question. No, I don't. I mean, it's gonna probably be like, we have in English a game called Whack-A-Mole, where there'll be new ones that'll pop up and then they're going to be banned, but I don't know. I'm really sorry about that. Yeah.
And then this one from Tanti was, in Indonesia, many teachers are worried about ChatGPT because they're afraid that their students will copy the answers from ChatGPT, even in writing. What's your opinion about it? And can we use ChatGPT for our students?
Yeah, I think this is the big one. I'm actually excited that it's easy to cheat, because then maybe we can stop writing so much. I think that one of the reasons why we rely so much on written text is because we didn't have the technology before to assess students on a mass level, and so we don't have to rely on it so much anymore. I think if we do write, we might go back to just pen and paper, but hopefully what we'll do is go more to audio-based content where students have to record something. But one thing about using ChatGPT is it's easy to tell. So I hire people like on platforms like Upwork, and I can see a ChatGPT application a mile away. And so to catch students from cheating, I highly recommend teachers use ChatGPT a lot, because they say it takes one to know one, as we say in English. And once you start using it, it's incredibly easy to tell if somebody's using ChatGPT. And then you could just say, hey, pull them in and be like, why are we using the app? And, maybe let's edit this. Can we use your own wording, etc. But, kids, thing is, with cheating is always going to go on. It's not that the app is introducing cheating. There's, when I was at my university, we would have the students would get their friends to write their essays for them. And so it's always going to be there. Yeah.
I think I saw a question in the chat before it disappears. Can I use ChatGPT to make content, textbooks, etc., for commercial purposes? No problem with copyright, including images.
It's still actually a gray area. Technically, yes, but technically, yes, you can, but it's a very gray area, and I'm not a lawyer. But yeah, I really can't answer that one. Yeah.
And then have you ever tried if ChatGPT can help to assess students' writing according to IELTS criteria?
Yes and no. It's hit and miss. Sometimes you'll put in a prompt and say, find the errors or whatever, and it does a really good job. And then other times it doesn't. And it's one of those things where it actually is just faster to do it at the human level, because you're not going to have quite the consistency. And a lot of times it's going to miss stuff. but you can say like, oh yeah, what I would do is put in a bunch of essays and say, what level would you say this is and why? And you'll probably get a pretty accurate picture. But again, grain of salt, be careful. Yeah, thank you for, there is somebody, hopefully they put that there is a tool to check plagiarism on ChatGPT, and actually they're growing. I think there's more coming every day. I haven't been grading papers for 8 months, 9 months, so it's not been my issue, but there are apps out there that can tell. And like I said, believe me, once you start using ChatGPT, as soon as you read it, you can tell.
We've kind of covered the plagiarism aspects to an extent that is probably as far as we can.
Yeah. And actually, here's the thing. I embrace it, because here's my take on this, just real quick. For example, if you like, I taught in Japan for many years. If you are let's say an engineer or a medical professional or something like that, and you need to go to international conferences and you need to publish in English, well, I don't think that a doctor or an engineer should spend so much time mastering how to write academic papers in English. They should spend their time developing medicine or doing engineering in their own language. So we should harness ChatGPT. I think it's great that if we could have this app that can facilitate and expedite a lot of the writing in another language. So we should use it judiciously, correctly, wisely, because then people can focus on really what's important. And also, going back to what I said before, language is spoken. There's 6,500 words, 6,500 languages in the world. Over half of those have no script at all. Before the printing press, people couldn't read or share text, right? People have only been reading and writing at the education level for about 100 years. So our bodies are designed to learn and use language through our ears and sound. And so maybe this will actually help us get back to that. We don't have to focus so much on the writing. Language learning is not writing essays. It never has been, or it shouldn't be. I might get in trouble. Don't put this on YouTube. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's about it, right?
Yeah, I think so. Can I grab control of the screen very quickly?
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Let's see. Okay, yeah.
Just very quickly to go over a couple of things. A couple of things I do want to point out. Even though eFuture does not integrate ChatGPT into our textbook, so you'd have to use ChatGPT on your own. We are working with incorporating AI into our learning tools. And I wanted to highlight that here with Smart English Second Edition, the course book that we just put out this year. We added to the new mobile app. There are some new features here and there, but one of the big ones is this AI speaking function, which we call AI and which is used to evaluate speech patterns that your students have. So you can practice in the classroom with this, so if your students are allowed to use your smartphones, or you can practice at home using the scripts from the book, and AI Andy will tell you, you can see on the screen there, it will tell you a general sense of what your accuracy is. And then it also will give you some data and statistical tracking to keep up with where your student is compared to other students. And this is, of course, free to use. It's free to download. To download the level 1 app, the QR code is on the screen there. You can get this on the Google Play or the Apple Store. So if you are curious about other functions that you can use with eFuture content, this is something that you can do. And we're going to continue to use this with other books too. So if you're not using Smart English, and maybe down the line, we'll have this available for you with other textbooks that we put out. And then last but not least, if you have any other questions, if we didn't get to your question today, we are limited on time. You can always contact us at eFuture at inquiry@eltkorea.com. Or you can contact one of our partners in the country. If your country shows up on this list, we have specific partners that you can reach out to, and they'll talk to you about books and things like that. Or if you have issues with locating eFuture materials like this webinar, they can point you in the right direction. Other than that, I believe we have been posting the links to the certificate or to the survey so that you can get your certificate. Please fill out the survey so we can get you your certificates as soon as possible. And also the link to the PowerPoint slides for this presentation. And I want to thank Todd one more time. Thank you very, very much. This was a great presentation. I can already see some of the feedback, very, very positive from people. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you to everybody. I appreciate it. It's an honor. Thank you for eFuture for giving me the chance to talk.
Wonderful. And like I said, this was our first expert webinar of the year. We have another one planned for August with Ken Beatty, who has given presentations with us in the past as well. We mentioned at the beginning, we will be in Beijing tomorrow for BIBF. We'll be there for the rest of the week. We have other presentations. Sue is in Panama at the moment, giving presentations and teacher training on lesson plan development. I will be giving a presentation online in Peru in about a month. I'll be in Vietnam, we'll be in Indonesia, and we'll be in Cambodia very soon. So we'll be all over the place. If you don't see us online, keep an eye out on our social media because we might be in your country soon. Other than that, thank you very, very much. And I will end things here, unless, Todd, you have any last thoughts?
No, I just, this was a complete human-generated presentation. Thank you very much. And, I appreciate everybody showing up. There's a lot of people that came. I really appreciate it. And thank you again to eFuture.
Thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.